Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we're just going to be showing you how we made our marble tray. So using craft resin, here we are mixing the part A resin and part B hardener together. It is a 1-to-1 ratio. Because it is so cold in England at the moment, we are having to put the resin on the radiator for a few minutes, as you can see behind our arms there. So we've just warmed up slightly for about 10 minutes, just so it makes the mixture a little bit thinner when stirring together. So it's just easier to get rid of all the bubbles this way as well. So just giving it a little stir here, making sure that we stir it for approximately 3 to 5 minutes to get it really mixed in, because if you don't mix it well enough then it doesn't set. So make sure you're scraping all the sides as well of your beaker or cup. And here you can see us just adding a bit of white mica powder to the mixture, giving it a good mix once again, because you don't want any powder bits to be in it. So mix that for another, I would say, 2 minutes. And then if the pigment isn't like as pungent as you want it, just add a bit more like we've done so here. Now we are going to try different ways of making our marble effect. One way was basically adding a bit of white mica powder to black to make a grey sort of colour, and also we used a metallic pigment for the gold. And this way we are just going to try a dirty pour. So we put some white mica powder resin, and then we're adding the grey, and then we're also going to add the gold to it. And we're going to test this out a few ways. So this is just the first way. So we're just going to add the gold now. We don't mix the big cup, we just literally dirty pour it in, as you can see, just dropping the gold in there. And then going to one side, we had a coaster mold ready. So we're just going to see how the effect comes out from this. And as you can see, it's pretty grey, and we want it a little bit more white, but still it's not too bad. Not too bad. So that was one way that we tried. The next way, we are just going to put some white mica powder in, and then the tiniest bit of grey, just to see if that makes any difference. So like you can see, we're only adding small little bits of the colour now because we want it a little bit more white. And then we head back over to the coaster mould, and as you can see, definitely more white. Maybe we needed a bit more grey, but it's okay. That was another way. And now this way, we're just going to try pouring it all individually, just to see how that one turns out. So a bit of white, and then we're going to drizzle. Love a good drizzle. So once we've done this, we're going to use a cocktail stick just to move it around to see if it gives it a little bit of a marble effect. As you can see here, this is probably one of the better ways of doing it, I would say. I think we preferred this effect. I would recommend trying things out before you pour it into your actual mould, because you never know. You never know what it's going to turn out like. But here you can see we're just going to add some of the gold. We're having some difficulties here. Some of the gold to this as well, but through a piping bag. Just going to see what effect that makes, because we only want a little bit of gold to shimmer in the tray. So here we go. Pouring it in slightly. Having a bit of difficulty here, but you get the gist. And then again with a little cocktail stick, just running that through. Here we go. This is definitely the best way. So I think we basically decided that this was the way that we were going to do it. We also wanted to run a heat gun over these just to see what effects they actually did make, because in the real world we have to use the heat gun to get rid of any bubbles, so we don't want to disturb the pattern too much. So here we go, there's no going back from this now. We are finally pouring in the resin into the tray mould. As you can see, we like to put the handles in the mould first. I know lots of people have different ways of doing it, so some people do say that they pour the resin in, let it harden up for about 3 hours or so, 5 hours, and then they push the handles in. Alternatively, some people drill them in. There's no real wrong, right way of doing it. It's just whatever you feel comfortable with doing. But like I said, we pop our handles in the mold first and then pour the resin. I just feel like it's a little bit more secure because resin, once it does harden, like you cannot pull these things out. So anyway, moving on to the technique. So as you can see here, we are basing the tray with the colour because we decided that as soon as we start putting white on top, we don't want the colour too much. We just want a little bit of a marble effect. So we thought if we put it on the first layer and then cover it with the white, it will gradually just show through because mica powder is a bit more see-through than like opaque pigments. But here you can see us just adding just the leftover white that we had from our trial runs, so we do have to make some more obviously because it's quite a big silicone mold. What I'll do as well is I'll pop a link below of where I got this mold from. It was just from an Etsy store, but it's a really good quality. It is more expensive than most places that you might find this mold, but I just do like the quality of this. And I also bought a wine butler holder from there as well, so if you wanted to check that out, you can do too. You can see here that we're just using a lollipop stick just to bring the colour through this first white layer, because we still do want to see it slightly, so it just picks up the colour. So we've just made a bit more resin, added the mica powder to it, and then we're just going to top it in our tray. What we decided in the end, if you've seen any of our videos on how we make our black and gold coasters, we have a bit of white that shines through the middle, and the way that we achieve this look is with a thin layer of clear resin just drizzled over it. So we thought maybe we would try this in the tray mold, as once we've put the white resin down, drizzle a bit of clear over, and then the grey will come out more, the grey and gold, like in our coasters. So we thought we're going to give that a go. But here you can see we're just trying to pick up the colour again, just mixing it all through with a lollipop stick to still get that marbly effect. So the lollipop stick is essentially the cocktail stick in the coaster mould when we were trialling. So yeah, really scraping it there, Joanna, aren't you? So yeah, this is how it's looking so far. So unfortunately I missed recording it, but we did drizzle the clear resin on top. So now with a heat gun, we're just blow drying it just to give that marble effect. And then here is the result so far. We do need to still top it up, so we're getting a bit more resin, but I think it's looking really good now, getting that real marble effect. So just adding a bit more white to it because we need it to be a bit more white because of the order. And then later on we're going to add a few more gold parts to it. But I'm really liking how it is actually turning out. Again, just using the heat gun just to move it around a bit, giving it a bit more swirl to it. Also getting rid of any bubbles that are in the resin still. If you do find that there still is bubbles, I find using a cocktail stick works, just giving them a little jab. I know people do use spraying alcohol spray also, but these are just the techniques that work for me, a heat gun and a cocktail stick. So we don't want to add too much gold to it as it's just going to be an effect. So just with like a plastic knife, we are just drizzling lines over the design. As you can see here, just very slowly drizzling it over. And then later on we'll give it just a blast with the heat gun again, just so it mixes in a little bit better. But just just do little bits at one time, because if you overpower it too much, you might end up not liking it. So like you can see here, we only did 3 lines, and then again, just giving it a blast with the heat gun just to mix it in with the design a bit more. And here is the final result. How do you think it looks? We're just going to cover it with a food net too. After 24 hours, I was finally ready to take it out of the mould, because it was super hard, it's not bendy anymore. So here I am just taking it out, and I really like how it's turned out. I think it just looks amazing. Love the marble to it as well, and you can see those dainty little gold strips too, which I'm really thrilled about. So thank you for watching, guys, and I'll be back soon for another video.